Hello everybody, today we are going to talk about the copy constructor. But before we start talking about that thing, I would like to show you the problem. Well, look, when I create a variable int a and I will assign here value 10, then I will create int b and I will assign here a, and then I will assign to a, for example, 60, and then I will send to the output a, and I will send to the output the value of b, we'll notice that the first value is 60 and the second value is 10. Right, because everything is going to be executed from the top to bottom, right? And in addition to this, well, when we are assigning here something, right? We are assigning the 10 here, we are assigning just a value. So we are not assigning an address, rather we are just assigning a value. Okay. And imagine now a situation like that. We are creating a class that we call just test, because I don't want to create anything useful right now. And now I will create in the public section, so we won't lose time, variables. Well, I don't want to create get and setters and other things like that, so I will just do it that way. This will be in the public section this time, and well, of course, we need the constructor that will set the two things, and we'll need also destructor. Okay, so let's define the things in the CPP file. So we are going to the test, and now x and y. Now I will do something like this: x equals x, and this, oops, y equals y, right? So this is the typical constructor for that guy here. Now I will create that thing. Well, I create two objects that will be the type will be test object 1, and it will be well, it will have values coming from here, from the constructor, and the second object that will get value that way. Now I send to the output the value that is under x and value that is under y, and of course the same thing to the object, to the second object. Here I will make a few more lines that thing can go to comment. And now I've been and run. Oh, of course, well, we need to add the semicolon here. Remember about the semicolons. And what now? Oh yeah, we need to also create a definition of our destructor, and now everything works fine. And as you can see, the values here copied well, because they were copied by the implicit constructor, copy constructor, implicit. That constructor is copying when we use the assign operator the values inside. But you know, that values can be copied easily, and everything will work fine later, because they are like that values here, right? When we change something now, for example, object 2 to, for example, 200, right? The x of the second guy. As you can see, I'm changing only value under that guy here, right? Because they are two different instances of that class. There are two different things, right? Two different objects now. Still. Okay. But, so what's the problem? Well, the problem happens when we create something like that. When we create a pointer. Well, when we do something like, for example, here, this p, I will assign new int. That value will be, for example, 50. You know, when we use that thing like that, we are reserving free spaces in memory, right? Free spaces for free integers, right? So we are reserving 3 multiplied by 4 bytes. When we do something like that, we are just reserving 1 time 4 bytes for just value of 40. Okay. And now, when what happens? Well, maybe let's a bit upgrade that thing here. So another int. Here we can do something like, for example, value. It can come from here also. So I will say here, for example, 60, right? Okay, and now I will send it the output. The value that is reserved in that space of memory. Well, let's do it. So this thing should be that way. Well, that thing will represent what? That thing will represent the address, right? So now I do it that way. This is an address. How to get value from address? We have to use the asterisk, right? Asterisk sign. So we'll do it that way. Okay, let's copy that way. That way. So that thing will give us the values. And as you can see, the values got copied. Everything was working fine. Are you sure? Well, what was copied here? By the implicit constructor, copy constructor. The address was copied in both cases, right? So it means that now when I do something like, well, let's use that guy. I'm changing this to 700. And you'll notice that in both cases that value has changed because we are trying to change the value under the same address. So right now that two objects have got are sharing the same variable, right? Well, the same address. So it's not good. They are not two different instances of classes, right? We should somehow change the implicit copy constructor. And also we should remember that when we locate dynamical memory, we should do delete the p, right? We should remember about it, that we should free our memory. And this time memory is being created 2 times because we have 2 objects and we are freeing 2 times memory under the same address, so it's also wrong thing. And that's why we have to create that copy constructor. How does it look like? Well, it looks like that, like the normal constructor, but this time we are taking here the constant name of reference. It looks like that. And now we should also do what? We should define that thing. So test. Here, call it somehow. And now it looks like that. When I do this, and I, for example, go into that P here, I am trying to get to the value that is to the left side, so to the object 2. When I do something like object dot p, I am trying to get to that guy here. Okay, so now we can assign to the new variable the value that is here under new address. So I can do something like new int, and I want the value that was under address of the object before. Now when I build and run that program, you will notice that these things, well, focus on the object1.p and object2.p, as you can see, the value, even though we change here, didn't change in object1, right? The object1 is 60. Well, sorry, we changed in the object1, we didn't change in the object2. So in the object2 it's 60, in the object1 it's 700. But the other values were wrong, because when we create our own copy constructor, we need to remember that the implicit one is not working now. So we need to, on our own, also do something like that. We have to change the typical values also. Right? Like that. And now as you can see, everything works fine. Great. Now we have two different instances of classes, even though we are using the dynamic allocation of memory inside of our class. Okay, that's all the lesson. Thank you very much.